Imagine standing in a room surrounded by friends, allies, people you trusted, men you promoted, men you spared, men who owed you their lives. Then, a blade flashes, then another, and another. 23 knives later, the most powerful man in the world collapses onto the Senate floor. Murdered, not because he failed, but because he succeeded too much. This is the story of a man who was kidnapped by pirates, crushed every rival in his path, conquered an empire, and became so powerful that he had to die. This is the story of Julius Caesar, the man who saved the Republic and paid for it with his life. Our story begins in Rome, nearly a century before Christ, but not the Rome of marble statues and shining temples, but in Subura, one of the city's most dangerous neighborhoods. A maze of crowded streets, open filth, and people surviving day to day. In this place, a boy was born who should never have mattered. His name was Julius Caesar. He belonged to an ancient bloodline that claimed descent from Venus herself. A prestigious name, but their fortune was thin. Even as a boy, he refused to know his place. He was sharp, obsessive, unwilling to submit. While Rome's elite hid behind marble walls, Caesar grew up among the crowds. Long before Rome noticed him, this boy had already understood something vital. Power started with the people. As a teenager, Caesar watched Rome fall into civil war. Romans turned on Romans, brother turned on brother. And in the middle of that chaos, Caesar made a dangerous choice. He married into a powerful family and on the wrong side of the war. And when the fighting ended, his side lost. And suddenly, Rome fell under an iron grip of a ruthless dictator named Sulla, a man whose list of enemies was long, and Caesar was on it. Sulla ordered him to do one simple thing: divorce his wife. Caesar refused to bend. And with that refusal, everything was taken from him. His inheritance, his name, his place in Rome. Branded a traitor, marked for death. At only 18 years old, Caesar fled Rome. For an entire year, he lived in hiding, moving from house to house, bribing bounty hunters, sleeping with one fear in mind: that the next knock on the door would be his execution. Eventually, friends intervened. Sulla relented. Caesar was allowed to return, but the boy who fled Rome did not come back the same, because one truth had been burned into him forever. Justice does not protect you, power does. At 25 years old, Julius Caesar was still unknown. No army, no title, no power, just a young Roman noble crossing the sea. Suddenly, the ship stopped. Out of the morning fog came black sails, pirates. They swarmed the deck, blades drawn, but still, Caesar was unfazed. They set a ransom for his return. Caesar scoffed and demanded they double it. For the next month, Caesar lived among his captors. He trained with them, joined their games. He warned them that once freed, he would come back and crucify them all. They laughed. They shouldn't have. Because once Caesar was released, he raised troops, hunted down his captors, ordered their throats cut, and had their bodies nailed to crosses. A mercy and a demonstration. Caesar had learned that authority did not require permission, only presence. And once a man understands that, he can exploit it. Back in Rome, Julius Caesar did not return quietly. He returned hungry for power, and he would find it in the most dangerous game of all, politics. But Caesar understood something most senators didn't. Power didn't begin in the Senate. It began with the people. So, he funded games, lavish festivals, public feasts, spectacles so extravagant Rome had never seen anything like them. He became wildly popular and catastrophically in debt. He borrowed enormous sums of money, not because he was reckless, but because he was buying loyalty, influence, control. But popularity alone wasn't enough. Rome was controlled by powerful men with armies, men with fortunes, men who could crush a rising politician without lifting a sword. So Caesar did something radical. He forged an alliance. 3 men, 1 goal: to run Roman politics from the shadows. The first triumvirate: Crassus, the richest man in Rome, banks, mines, secret deals. Pompey, Rome's greatest general, beloved by his soldiers, feared by his enemies. And Caesar, the orchestrator, the mastermind, the man with the support of the people. Individually, they were powerful. Together, they bent the republic to their will. They passed laws, crushed opposition, divided power among themselves, and with their backing, Caesar rose to consul, the highest office in Rome. But consul was never the end goal. It was a stepping stone, because in Rome, true power did not come from speeches, it came from legions. And soon, Caesar secured something far more dangerous than influence. He secured command of an army. And beyond the borders of Rome, a war was brewing, the Gallic Wars. Gaul was not a single nation. It was a patchwork of tribes, warrior cultures, constant rivalries. To Rome, it was unstable. To Caesar, it was glory. Because for the next decade, he conquered. Tribe after tribe fell. Village after village burned. Gold, slaves, glory. Every victory made him richer. Every battle made his legions sharper. Every command made his name echo louder across the Republic. Gaul wasn't just losing, they were bleeding. If they didn't unite, they would disappear. So they chose a leader, Vercingetorix, young, noble, fierce. One people, one leader, one mission: to break Rome. But he didn't meet Caesar in open battle. He ordered crops burned, towns destroyed, food supplies erased. If Caesar wanted Gaul, he would have to starve for it. The two sides would clash in one final battle, one last stand. Alesia, inside, a trapped Gallic army. Outside, Rome. Caesar surrounded them, and he built a wall, miles long, towers, trenches, spikes hidden in the ground. But scouts brought bad news. A second Gallic army was marching, tens of thousands more. So what do you do when you're besieging one enemy and another is marching to kill you? You build another wall, facing outward, Now Caesar wasn't just besieging Alesia, he was trapped between two enemies. If the inside army broke out, or if the outside army broke in, Rome would be annihilated. For weeks, they waited. Food thinned, morale cracked, the air smelled of fear and damp earth. And then, in the dead of night, the horns sounded. The relief army attacked from outside. Vercingetorix attacked from within. Fire lit the darkness, screams tore through the trenches, and in Rome's darkest hour, Caesar disappeared, not behind the lines, on the front, shield in hand. The men saw him, and they did not retreat. They counterattacked. By dawn, the relief army was shattered. The field outside Alesia was silent. Inside the fortress, Vercingetorix understood the truth. It was over. He rode out, alone, and laid his weapons at Caesar's feet. Gaul had united, and still, it wasn't enough. At Alesia, Caesar didn't just win a battle, he was becoming bigger than the Republic itself, and Rome would soon realize it had created something it could no longer control. After Gaul, his soldiers didn't just respect him, they were loyal to him. Not to Rome, not to the Republic, to him. And back in the marble halls of the Republic, fear began to spread, because Caesar wasn't just a general anymore. He was rich, famous, untouchable, and he possessed something the Senate did not: legions. And the alliance that once controlled Rome was long gone. Crassus was dead, and Pompey, once Caesar's ally, had chosen the Senate's side, the same Senate that now wanted Caesar gone. They issued an order: return home without your army. On paper, it was lawful. In reality, it was a trap, because without his army, Caesar would face prosecution, not because he had failed Rome, but because he had become too powerful to control. Caesar stood at a crossroads: return alone and be destroyed, or return with his army and be declared an enemy of the state. It would be treason. It would mean civil war. And in that moment, Julius Caesar understood the truth. There was no going back now. And with that single decision, Rome's future would change forever. What followed was shock, fear, panic. Julius Caesar advanced faster than anyone had imagined. City after city opened its gates, not because they were attacked, but because they were already defeated. Why? Because his reputation arrived before him. The conqueror of Gaul, the man who built 2 walls at Alesia, the general who never lost. Rome didn't fall in fire. It didn't fall in blood. It fell in silence, because Pompey and the Senate had fled. And Caesar now controlled the most powerful city on earth. But the war wasn't over. Caesar chased his former ally, now turned enemy, and the fate of 2 titans would be decided in a single battle. Battle of Pharsalus. Here, Pompey had everything: more soldiers, more cavalry, the Senate, the Republic itself. But Caesar had something else. Men who marched with him for a decade. Men who had starved with him, bled with him, won with him. So Caesar attacked, hoping to end the war before it truly began. As fate would have it, he was right. Pompey's forces shattered, broken, running. The war was decided. Pompey fled to Egypt, expecting refuge, safety, survival. He received none of it. Pompey was murdered upon arrival. his severed head presented to Caesar as a gift, and with no one left to oppose him, Caesar returned to Rome. But something was different now. Everyone could feel it. Power no longer lived in institutions. It lived in one man, and the Roman Republic was slowly drawing one of its last breaths. The war was over, the rivals were dead, the streets were quiet, and Rome was finally his. But Caesar did not return as a tyrant, he returned as a reformer. He pardoned enemies, gave them power, even promoted some of them. He passed laws that helped the poor, canceled crushing debts, gave land to his veterans. To the people of Rome, Caesar was everything the Republic had failed to be. Decisive, generous, present. After decades of corruption and civil war, peace felt intoxicating. And peace had a face, his face. But Caesar made one fatal mistake. He acted like a king. His statues rose across the city. His face was minted onto Rome's coins. His name was spoken with reverence. Rome now belonged to Caesar. Power was no longer shared. It flowed through one man, but Rome had a memory it could not forget. Rome once had kings, and it had sworn never again. And inside the Senate, fear hardened into hatred. Every reform carried a message. The Senate wasn't being ignored, it was being replaced. And to take that power back, one man had to die. March 15th, 44 BC. The Senate gathered. Caesar arrived unharmed, surrounded by allies, friends, men he had forgiven. Then the knives came out. Caesar collapsed at the feet of Pompey's statue. The conspirators expected cheers. They expected relief. They expected Rome to thank them. Instead, silence, confusion, grief. The people did not celebrate. They mourned. Because Caesar had not felt like a tyrant. He had felt like stability. And when he died, that stability died with him. What followed was not freedom. It was chaos. More wars, more blood, more dictators. The Roman Republic did not die when Caesar took power. It died on the Senate floor. And from its ashes rose an empire, the Roman Empire. If this story intrigued you, help me tell another one. Subscribe and like the video. You do make a difference. This was Red Shade.